Hello everybody, my name is Manny and welcome back to my guided playthrough. Today I am starting in the login screen because I wanted to show you how you can filter your characters. As you can see here, I have a pretty long list of characters that I have already played, and these are in different leagues at the moment, some of which are in the standard league, which I explained in the first episode, because from previous leagues, like here you can see this was a character I played in Ritual, one that I played in Lake of Kalandra, have already been transferred to the Standard League once these leagues ended. Down here you have a drop-down menu, and here you can change the league you want to filter your characters. So if I want every character that is currently in solo self-found Sanctum, I just select this, and you can see currently I have 2 characters in this league. If I want to change it to my current character, which is played in hardcore solo self-found Sanctum, I just click this one right here, and you can see this is the witch that I created for this guided playthrough. And if I want to log in, I just select it and press play. So now let's continue with our campaign. I already know that the next part is a little bit more difficult, especially for newer players and sometimes also for experienced players because they tend to skip a lot. And if we take a look at the minimap, you can see it is no longer explored, even though in the last episode we came through here, so it was already explored. This is because different areas or areas that you have visited will be reset if you are not in the area within maybe, I think it's 8 to 15 minutes. If you are inactive in an area for 8 to 15 minutes, then it will be reset. Now let's go to the mudflats. And here are some new enemies that can charge you and deal more damage. These are the regular zombies that we already know. And here you can see the Roar Mare. These can charge and deal more damage. Another thing to keep in mind with enemies, if I hover over these enemies, you can see their name in white. So similar to items, there are different rarities to enemies. The white enemies are normal enemies. They usually don't have any special abilities. But pretty soon we will see here also some other enemies, like magic and rare ones. Here you can see this one is blue. It's a magic enemy. These are stronger and give more experience. And if you look at the line under the name, extra lightning damage and exposure, this explains what special abilities those enemies have. So these ones deal extra lightning damage and can inflict exposure. Exposure is a debuff that says, well, let me choose other words. You can be exposed to fire, lightning, and cold damage. If you're exposed to one element, that means that your elemental resistances of the affected element will be lowered by 10%. So basically you take more damage of that type. And right here you can see a green item dropped again. This is a quest item because in this area I can do a quest and I already know what the quest reward will be, just because I've played it so many times, and that's why I will focus on completing this quest now so I can get the reward as soon as possible. And here with these rowers, it's always a good idea trying to sidestep their charge attack to avoid getting too much damage. And I will also try to use my Quicksilver Flask a little bit more to move faster through the area. As you can see here, I was charged a couple of times and took a lot of damage. That's mostly because my zombies got killed and I didn't resummon them in time. And here this icon right next to my character shows that I have used the Quicksilver Flask and that it was active. And on the minimap, or the map overlay right now, you can see there is an exclamation mark, and down here, because I have already played this so many times, I already know that the lower exclamation mark is the third quest item that I need. And the top exclamation mark is where I need to go after I have collected all three. If you don't know what to do to finish a specific quest, you can always check the quest menu or map menu that I already showed you with the press of the M key right here. And currently we are doing the quest breaking some eggs. Now I press this wall, the items that I collected are placed into the wall, and I can continue to the next quest area. In Path of Exile, some quests are optional, or many quests are optional, you don't need to do them, but many quests will give you nice quest rewards like additional skill gems or books that increases your skill points. So now I talk to the NPC to get my quest reward, and now we get our main spell for this playthrough, and this is Summon Raging Spirit. And the second reward that we get is our first movement skill. In this case it is Frostblink. If you look at the second line that shows the tags that this skill has, you can see it's a spell, it's a movement skill, it has a duration, it is a cold skill, a travel skill, a blink skill, and it is an AoE, so an area of effect. And what the spell does basically is you teleport to the location that you are aiming at, and if there are enemies, then you are damaging the enemies and you are leaving chilled ground in the area. Chilled ground reduces the speed of an enemy that is affected by it. And it shares a cooldown with other blink skills. So when you use this Frost Blink skill, then it takes some time to recharge. If you look at the fourth line of the description, you can see cooldown time 3 seconds. So after I've used it once, I have to wait 3 seconds until I can use it again.
Stay sharp out there.
At this point, I will no longer use my Fireball skill, so I right click it to remove it. And I also will no longer use Arcane Surge here, so I also remove it. And instead, I'm socketing my Summon Raging Spirit. And now I will take the Summon Phantasm support that I have socketed before and move it to my Summon Raging Spirit. So now if my Summon Raging Spirit kill an enemy, they have a chance to summon a Phantasm. And then also I will remove my Summon Raging Spirit from the right mouse button, and I personally prefer the R key, so I set it here, And I also checked this toggle button to always attack without moving, which means I can cast it and my character will not move. I will also want to use the Frostblink skill, so I can dash away when I want to evade some attacks, and I personally prefer them on my E key, so I once again switch the key.
Come to hear your poem.
And now, because I know that I have a quest here and I would like to finish the quest, I actually did not go to the new waypoint that I took just before, but I went back to the old one that we started this episode at, because I want to go to the mudflats and then to the new area that is currently undiscovered here. And once again, because I've played this game so many times already, I already know where this area usually is. It's usually to the left. And now I will showcase Raging Spirits. If I cast it, I get this minion right here, which is basically just a floating burning skull that seeks out enemies automatically and attacks them. And if I just hold down my R key, I will just continue casting it. And at the top, you can see now I'm losing Raging Spirits. Now they are gone, because the Raging Spirits they are only active for a limited amount of time. If you look at the blue text here, they have a base duration of 5 seconds. Then I can have a maximum summoned of 20 Raging Spirits at one time, and this minion cannot taunt. If an enemy gets taunted, then the enemy attacks the target that taunted him. So let's say my zombies taunt the enemy, then the enemy will attack my zombies. This can be very useful later on when we have access to equipment that gives your minions a chance to taunt. Here you can see I dropped a coral ring. This one, if you look at the right side on the tooltip, gives me 25 to maximum life, so that is nice to have right now. My life increased because it was automatically equipped, and now I can move forward. And on the map you can see the entrance. Here is once again one of the stronger enemies. This is a unique enemy, as you can see from the name, but because of my Raging Spirits it dies very quickly. What you have to look out for in this month's enemy is that he has an aura, that is effect that is an area effect that affects you in this case, and everything that's in the area will be damaged. So all your zombies, your Raging Spirits, and you yourself. And if you have looked closely at my life, you can rewind the video if you want, then my energy shield did not get depleted, but my life, I lost some life, even though I still had energy shield. And the reason for that is because the damage that he does was chaos damage. And chaos damage inherently ignores energy shield and goes directly to life. Other sources of damage, like fire, cold, or physical, first have to bleed the target's energy shield before they can damage the life. But chaos damage here is the exception. Now I can see here, okay, I dropped a coral amulet. That is a nice find because I don't have an amulet yet, and some other items that I'm currently not interested in. So at this time I am just focusing on summoning my Raging Spirits when needed and always have 3 zombies active. And the quest I'm doing here now is basically just clear the area of all enemies. And at this time, if there are more enemies, then I will just stop moving if I'm not in danger and just hold down my R key to continuously cast my Raging Spirits, so I get more of them out and therefore increase my damage. This medium mana flask can help as well, because when I deplete my mana now, just to show you, and I press my 4 key to use my small mana flask, you can see it's not filling up my mana completely anymore, because I already got more mana than before. And these two are rare enemies. You can see it by their yellow name. And if you look at the lines below their name, extra life and physical resistance. So this enemy has more life and he is resistant to physical damage. Regarding damage, this you can either look up in the wiki, or if you already know it, then it's good as well. Your zombies inherently do physical damage, and your summon Raging Spirits, they have a base physical damage, but 100% of this physical damage is converted to fire. What I have forgotten to show you is my blink skill, my frost blink. If I press my E key, I will just teleport, and this is the chilled area that reduces the speed of the enemies. And here is another unique enemy. You can see he has a name, and on the top right you can see he has this little lightning icon. This symbolizes that he's resistant to lightning damage. There are also icons for resistance to fire damage and resistance to cold damage. There is another rare enemy. These sometimes have special effects that increases their chance to drop good items. As you can see, if you were able to see before, this one for example dropped 3 magic items. So usually these rare items can be a good source of good items early on. This one, if you look at the icon, is resistant to fire damage, and it's also stated like this in the description below. So he took quite a bit longer to kill. My zombies are already dead again. In the beginning your zombies will die quite a few times. You will need some skill points from your tree that have minions regenerate life, or just increase the life and get some life leech on the minions, then they will survive longer. Now you can see the quest is completed. The color of the area changes. If I look in my inventory, I already have 3 portal scrolls, so I'm feeling comfortable using one here. I'm going back to town and get my reward for this quest. In this case I get 2 passive respec points. And if I right click this item, then the respec points are given to me. And now I will check my skill tree again, because I have already gotten 3 skill points already. And here you can see I have currently 2 refund points. So now I will take these 3 nodes, 10 intelligence, 10 strength, and some minion damage and minion duration, because if you can remember, my summon Raging Spirits only lasts for 5 seconds currently. So here with these nodes I can increase the duration that they last. Now I apply the points and they are spent. Okay, here I can check what's next on the list, and here you can see I have a quest nearby, so I go to the submerged passage and just continue my journey. Here you can see my character was not able to move, That's because cold damage has a chance to completely freeze you, and especially early on or even later on, this can be very dangerous. So here at this part I have to be much more careful, especially because I'm currently playing hardcore. But fortunately for me, I'm playing a minion build, so I can just summon my raging spirits and hide behind where I'm out of danger, for the most part at least. Then what you can see here on the map overlay, this icon right here, this is the icon of a shrine. Shrines are specific objects in the world which gives surrounding enemies a buff. Different shrines do different things. Usually they make them either more tanky, or in this case this shrine I think gives them knockback, so if they hit you they knock you back, you can see I'm pushed back a little bit. And other shrines just increase the damage, or there is even one shrine that makes them immune to damage. So if you don't want them to be affected by the shrine, you can just click on it, then you get this buff. You can also see it right here. So now your character has the shrine effect, and every shrine has a duration. So this one has about 30 seconds left. Then here you can see a rare vine circlet. This is an energy shield helmet, and a blank kite shield, which is a shield that gives me 4% to all elemental resistances. This once again is an implicit modifier that I stated in a previous episode that is always active on the item, independent on the rarity. And because I have already 11 scrolls of wisdom, I will use them to identify some items. The way I'm doing this now is I right click the scroll of wisdom, and then I can hold down my shift key. Then the scroll of wisdom will not be removed from my mouse cursor, and I can identify multiple items in a row without always going back to the scroll of wisdom. If I just right click without holding down my shift key and I use it once, then the scroll of wisdom is no longer at my cursor, and I would have to right click the scroll of wisdom again to use it on another item. This is true for basically all currency items. So if I use an Orb of Transmutation, for example, it will have the same behavior. So now let's check what we have got here. My Vine Circlet, my new helmet, gives me some life, some mana, some cold resist, increased stun and block recovery. That means if I get stunned, then I have a certain amount of time that my character cannot move or take any action, and with the increased stun recovery, this time is reduced. And the same with block. When I block, then I'm stuck in place for a little bit, but with this stat, the time is reduced. And the last part, it reflects 1 physical damage on melee attackers. So if I get attacked, the attacking enemy will take 1 physical damage. So in this case, the good things are actually only the life, mana, and some cold resistance. These boots have some life. These have life as well, but also life regeneration and more sockets, so I prefer these. The shield gives me the 4 to all elemental resistances, some strength, some armor, some energy shield, mana, and cold resist. All nice things to have. And I can wear it, and it also has better sockets, so I will change it. And because I'm not using an amulet at the moment, I will also use this. And this amulet also gives me some mana regeneration, so I don't need to use so many flasks anymore. All good things. And now we'll continue to this way down here. Here you can see these are the flooded depths. And if I check my quest here, then it says it's below the submerged passage. I'm currently in the submerged passage, and this is the way down. The thing is, at this specific moment, I don't really want to go down. This is something that I have learned from experience, but instead I will just create a town portal here, but don't use it yet. The reason for this is, if I go down in this area and I take more than the 15 minutes, then the submerged passage that I'm in now would reset. And then I would have to go to this waypoint again and search my way to the next location again from the beginning, which can take quite some time. But I personally do not like to repeat areas that I have already cleared or don't really need anymore. So I will just continue here. And once again, from experience, I know that in the next area I can find a waypoint that I can use to go back to town, and then just use the town portal in town to go back to this location and do the quest. Here we have a special item. I will just pick it up and show you. You can see there are 3 sockets and they are linked together. And from experience, once again, I do know if I sell this item to a vendor, I will get a special crafting item back. This right here is the way to the special league mechanic for the Forbidden Sanctum League. I will show this in a later area. Right now I just want to go to the waypoint and then go back through the portal to do my quest. But after I have finished the quest, the next portal to the league mechanic, I will show you what this is in this league. And here is the way to the next area. I have already leveled up again, so I will spend my new skill point to get a little bit more damage. Here are some more rare enemies that you can see with the blue outline. And here is another ring. And this ring gives me some mana, because I don't have anything better. This is good as well. Resummon my zombies. And just keep going forward. This one right here is a totem. A totem is an entity that is usually not moving, and it always casts one specific spell. And these totems in this area give enemies in range a bonus, either an offensive or defensive bonus. Maybe they make the enemies move faster or give them some more resistances or armor. So they just make the enemies a little bit stronger overall. As you can see, I'm trying to keep moving as much as possible, because in Path of Exile, if you're constantly moving, then you have a higher chance of avoiding enemy attacks. So here you can see I have a waypoint. I can go back to the town. And if I go down here, I can see this is my town portal to the submerged passage. And if I take it, I can go right down here and continue with this quest. This is personal preference. You don't need it to do this way. You can just go through and immediately go down this way. It's just something that over the years I figured I prefer this way. So now I'm always doing it like this. And now here, for this quest, we are just looking for a specific enemy to kill. Okay, here is the enemy that we need to kill. So I will once again just stay a little bit behind and let my minions do all the work for me. You can see there are spawning other enemies in between and attack me, so I just move away a little bit. Now let's see if it dropped anything. There is an iron circlet, that's a helmet as well. Some weapons that I don't need and a shield that I also don't need. So at this point I once again have the option to either go all the way back, I could use a town portal, or I can just log out to the character selection screen and continue from there. In this case I will just use the town portal even though it's my last. Go back to town and identify my circlet. And now I can check which one I prefer. If I hover over the item in my inventory, I can also press the Control key. So it will or let me choose other words. If I press my Control key while hovering over an item in my inventory, it will display the item that I have currently equipped on this item slot on the left side. So it is easier for me to compare these two items. So now I can see the one that I already have equipped gives me some life, mana and 6% cold resist. The new one would have 10% cold resist. It would have more energy shield, which is also nice. And some light radius, which isn't as important. So they are pretty equal, but the circlet that I currently have has 3 sockets and 2 of them are blue, which is preferable for my situation because in the future I will get more gems that I want to use. So now I will just sell these items that I already got. Like I said, this item will give me a specific item. You can see it's called a chromatic orb. And I will just sell the others. I can also sell these gems right here because I do know that I will not use them anymore. And currently, because I'm selling this one white item, I will get a scroll of fragment. But if you look, if I add the fireball, I will get the second one. So regular gems will give you a scroll of fragment as well.
While we live, we are blessed.
Now that I have a couple more currency items, I would like to go over some of them, what they are doing. So I take all the full ones out. And these shards and these fragments I just leave here, because with shards and fragments you can't do anything. You have to finish the stack. In this case it has a stack size of 20, and once it reaches this stack size, then it will be converted to the full version, like this one right here. An orb of transmutation. If I have a normal item, so a white item, then this orb of transmutation can upgrade this item to a rare item, and therefore adding 1 or 2 of these blue lines. Like this one right here has 10% increased rarity of items found. And there is a specific set, or let me take one step back. This 10% increased rarity of items found is called an affix. And a normal item can have 0 affixes, a rare item can have 2 affixes, and a rare item can have 6 affixes. If I use an Orb of Transmutation on a normal item, it will become magic and will get either 1 or 2 affixes. If it gets only 1 affix, then I have a chance to use an Orb of Augmentation to add a new random affix or modifier to this item. So let's say I have a normal item, I use an Orb of Transmutation, it gets 1 affix, let's say the 10% increased rarity of items found, then I can use the Orb of Augmentation to add a second one. If I'm not happy with my item, with my magic item, then I can use the Orb of Alteration. This item reforges a magic item and gives it completely new random modifiers. It's random, so it is possible that it will get the same modifiers as before, but this would be a very, very rare outcome. Most likely it will give it 1 or 2 new modifiers. Then the Armorer's Scrap improves the quality of an armor item. So this is either my helmet, my body armor, my gloves, my boots. The quality increases if it's an intelligence item like this one right here, the energy shield. If it's an armor item, then it would increase the armor value of the item. If it's an evasion rate item like this one, then it would increase the evasion rating of the item. Then the chromatic orb reforges the colors of the sockets. So right now my vine circlet has 2 blue sockets right here and 1 red socket. If I use this chromatic orb on this item, then the colors of my 3 sockets would be randomized. Once again, it is possible that I get the same outcome as before, but usually some things will change. The important thing regarding chromatic orbs is that it's not completely random what colors you get. If I look at this simple robe right here, it requires 17 intelligence. I mentioned in one of my previous episodes that energy shield items correspond to intelligence, evasion corresponds to dexterity, and armor corresponds to strength. If an item has a requirement, one of my 3 main stats like intelligence, strength and dexterity, then this determines which color is more likely to be rolled. In this case, because it's an intelligence item, it's more likely to roll blue colors than blue sockets than green or red ones. This can be important, especially early on, if you want to save on chromatic orbs. If I equip an armor item, but I need blue sockets, then I would need, in average, much more chromatic orbs to get my blue sockets than if I would use an intelligence base, like a simple robe. This is something that you should always keep in mind. Okay, now let's take a look at our current status. We have 1 more skill point, and now we are here at Enduring Bond. As you can see here, all these nodes are pretty small, and this one is bigger. That is because this one is a notable, and notables like this one or this one, you can see they all have this bigger circle, have usually more stats that increase your character or your minions, and are usually the ones that you are aiming for. So in this case, if I take Enduring Bond, I have 20% skill effect duration. So if I look at my Raging Spirit again, in the first line after the name, the 3rd word, you can see it's a duration spell. So my minions have a duration. And the 20% skill effect duration means that the duration of my minions is increased by 20%. And the last line, 20% minion duration, this one also affects my Raging Spirit, but it is specifically for minions. If I go back to my inventory and I look at Frostblink, once again, the first line under the name, the third word, duration, is also a duration skill, but it does not have the minion tag in this line. If I compare it to my Raging Spirit, here you can see it's a spell minion duration. So the minion duration would increase the duration of my Raging Spirits, but not of my Frostblink, because Frostblink does not have the minion tag up here. This is something that Path of Exile does all the time. So if you want to know if something affects a specific skill, then you can check the tags if they are matching with the description. For more details or for general information how specific skills interact with other abilities, I recommend that you check the wiki. There are usually very good explanations and examples of how specific skills and supports and passive skill tree notables or small skills interact with each other. Okay, so now we'll just take Enduring Bond, and this will increase the duration of my minions. And the second line, minions deal 30% increased damage if you have used a minion skill recently. Recently is one of these keywords that Path of Exile is using, and in the bottom of the tooltip you can see recently refers to the past 4 seconds. So every time you read the word recently in Path of Exile, it always refers to the last 4 seconds. And because my Summon Raging Spirit has the minion tag, every time I cast Summon Raging Spirit, it will count for this 30% increased damage. So, and because I'm casting Summon Raging Spirit almost all the time, that means that I almost all the time get the benefit of increasing my minion's damage by 30%. So for me this is a very good skill point early on. Then I click on apply to apply it, and now I'm done with this. Now I will hand in the quest that we just completed, and he gives me 1 passive skill point. Very good. I right click on it to get it, and now I can spend the skill point. As you can see here, after I have taken Enduring Bond, now this big note right here is highlighted. And if you take a look around here, you can see there are more of these circles in specific groups, and every time you take the notable that is right next to them or in this group, you unlock the corresponding mastery, and you can use another point here. So now I can see all these radio buttons that I have next to the options symbolize what I can take. I can either take Minions Overwhelm 20% physical damage reduction. This could be good if I'm using minions that deal physical damage. I'm currently using my zombies, but my main focus is on Raging Spirit, and my Raging Spirits do fire damage. So let's see what else we have. Minions penetrate 8% of cursed enemies' elemental resistances. There are curses in this game. We currently don't own a curse, so I will go over this once we get the curse. And because we don't own a curse, this is not really relevant for us as well. Then minions have 25% chance to gain Unholy Might for 4 seconds on kill. And right here I can press my set key. Let's take a step back. If I go to my options under input and I scroll down right here, you can see here, show advanced item descriptions. I have mine set to the set key. And if I go back right here and I hover over my skill and I want to know what does Unholy Might mean, I have never heard of it, I have no idea what this does, then I can just press my set key to show the advanced tooltips, and now I get this additional information. And it says Unholy Might grants 30% of physical damage as extra chaos damage. So this basically says that if I take this kill and let's say a Raging Spirit kills an enemy for me, then this one Raging Spirit has a 25% chance to gain 30% of his physical damage as extra chaos damage for 4 seconds. Like I said, my Raging Spirits do physical base damage, and this base damage is converted to fire. But because the base is physical, they would in theory benefit from Unholy Might and gain 30% extra damage as chaos damage. But only for this limited time of 4 seconds. This in combination with that I actually want to focus on fire damage and not chaos damage, and also because my minions are temporary, so in theory it could happen that a Raging Spirit that has only 1 second left kills an enemy, gets the buff, and then 1 second later my minion disappears anyway. It's not that useful for me. Then the next thing would be minions have increased area of effect. Currently all my minions, well, my Raging Spirits do only single target damage, so they don't have area of effect. My zombies in theory would have a slam attack, which does area of effect, but I'm not focusing on this one, so it's not as important to me as well. Then minions have 250 to accuracy rating. Accuracy is needed to hit an enemy and is directly countered by evasion. So if an enemy has high evasion, then I need more accuracy rating to hit him. If an enemy has high evasion and I have low accuracy rating, or my minions have low accuracy rating, then I will be missing a lot and maybe only hit 70% of my hits, or maybe only 50% of them. So this could be useful, but because minions gain some accuracy rating anyway when you level them up, it's not that important right now. And 20% increased effect of my offerings. I currently do not own an offering. This is similar to curses. I will go over offerings once we own one. So at this moment, these masteries don't seem as appealing to me. So I will just once again search for minion nodes. Where could I go? You can see here this is highlighted, but this is actually not the minion node, but just the name Arcanist's Dominion just has the word minion in it, so it's highlighted as well. But right here, minions deal increased damage, and minions have increased maximum life, deal increased damage, and I get an additional zombie and an additional skeleton. Right now I am not able to summon skeletons. This is another gem that I could get if I wanted, but like I said, in this playthrough I'm focusing on Raging Spirits. But this node right here seems to be pretty useful. If I look over here, there is some more minion damage, attack and cast speed, strength, intelligence, all nice things. Then here more minion life, and here is one node, minions regenerate 1% of life per second. As I said before, my zombies are dying a lot, I have to resummon them a lot, and this is just something for me that makes it more comfortable. If my zombies or my minions in general regenerate life passively and I don't have to resummon them all the time, it makes gameplay for me more comfortable. So this is a node that I would consider. Just keep in mind that early on the life of your zombies, or in general your minions, is relatively low, and only after you level the skill gem a little bit higher, the life of your minions, or in general the stats of your minions, will increase. So early on this node does not do as much, but it could be helpful as well. So now I have to decide which side do I want to go. And honestly, early on it doesn't matter too much, and I think that I just prefer the regeneration, so I will go this way right away. But you are flexible here. You can do pretty much whatever you want. If you're following a guide closely, then the person writing the guide most likely has already more experience with this and maybe offers a leveling skill tree, then a mid-game skill tree, and then an end-game skill tree, where you just can follow step by step what he is taking. I'm just doing this more flexible now or on the whim, so I'm just going whatever, because I know where I want to go in the end, and I do know that my end result is working. And early on during leveling it's not as important. Now I can click the waypoint again to check my quests. I can see, okay, this is the quest that we just finished, and currently I have the way forward open and the introduction to my current league mechanic. But that's all for today. I hope you have a great day playing the game, and goodbye.